Pack your dreams into a worn-out bag. Chase horizons where the sun won't lag. Every ticket's a step to be free. Travel's the spark that completes me. From the city buzz to mountain peace, we'll find the magic that brings release. It's Travel Tuesday, let's take flight across the seas to endless light. No routine can hold the keys. Unlock the world with Search Tree Hat and 65. Train where the past doesn't wait. Footsteps rewriting every day. Maps aren't just ink, they're hearts that beat. A story told with every street. It's Travel Tuesday, don't think twice. Life's waiting like the roll of dice. Memories that will never cease. Unlock the world with Search Tree Hat to 65. Feel the oceans kiss, the mountains cry. Watch the stars fill a wondrous sky. Travel's not a place, it's your design. It changes your life, it realigns. Pack your dreams into a worn-out bag. Chase horizons where the sun won't lag. Every ticket's a step to be free. Travel's the spark that completes me. Pack your dreams into a worn-out bag. Chase horizons where the sun won't lag. Every ticket's a step to be free. Travel's the spark that completes me. From the city buzz to mountain peace, we'll find the magic that brings release. It's Travel Tuesday, let's take flight across the seas to endless light. No routine can hold the keys. Unlock the world with Search Tree Hat and 65. train where the past doesn't wait. Footsteps rewriting every day. Maps aren't just ink, they're hearts that beat. A story told with every street. It's Travel Tuesday, don't think twice. Life's waiting like the roll of dice. Memories that will never cease. Unlock the world with Search Tree. How to 65. Feel the oceans kiss, the mountains cry. Watch the stars fill a wondrous sky. Travel's not a place, it's your design. It changes your life, it realigns.
Wow.
What do you think of the new theme song?
I want you to, good morning, by the way, good afternoon. I want you to pass on my thanks to Andy for singing that and creating that song. So pass on my thanks and hats off to him.
Here's the secret. It is 100% AI.
That's not Andy?
No, that is 100%
Oh,
AI.
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I was going to
It's
say you, but the voice was kind of deep. So,
this can play instruments. This does not sing a lick.
it's amazing, huh? That is anything safe anymore?
It is if you don't know how to program things to work the way you want them to.
I like to welcome everyone, of course, to the show, Travel Tuesday. And I like how you say two men and a woman, three journeys, one passion, travel, meet three adventurers with different paths, but the same direction, our destination, freedom through travel. From military bases to mountain trails to the prayers of Nebraska, Minnesota, the lakes of Minnesota, and big city chaos to quiet countryside Medford escapes. Each episode, Travel Tuesday dives into personal stories, unforgettable destinations, and insider tips. Whether you're a seasoned explorer or just dreaming of your next getaway, join us as we navigate the world, one journey at a time. Real stories, real people, real travel. Amazing. I love it.
All right.
You know, we were talking about AI, and AI is going to have has already had a significant impact on the world,
Yeah.
and to a large degree, I believe America is behind the world.
Well, yes and no. Have you heard the latest about the whole travel with Africa and the white genocide over there in South Africa?
I haven't done any research on what's going on, but I've seen some of the folks that have arrived in the States.
So this is where we're not behind and how one screw up with AI can create a whole world of conspiracy theories and disasters. It didn't happen the way that we're saying the way it said it happened.
Well, we know that it's all propaganda.
It was a chatbot on X that didn't flag false information and it spread like wildfire.
Um, that's a whole nother category that we won't go into, but that's a whole nother category of justification for stuff.
Yeah.
And there's, AI can create justification for a cat being married to a dog
Hmm.
and the kids that they have together, the pup kittens, pup kits. AI can make up a story for anything. What I was actually referring to was the application of AI is more widely used and understood, outside the United States more than in the States. It's just
Especially
now
in
catching on. Hmm?
Yeah. Well, and what's cool about the AI, especially over in other areas, is they're using it in the medical field.
They're using it all over. We are so behind in so many things, especially, education wise from other countries. And, you look at us, and I haven't looked at the latest stats on where we fall with education with all the different nations out there. And
We're down there. I've got
we're,
friends in China and in like Korea. How it's so important over there in the Eastern countries to be
hmm
on top of your list.
hmm hmm
So when their kids are not on the top of the list, they will send them over here as a foreign exchange. Go to school here, get on top of the list here. So when they go back, they're automatically up there on the list. Did I lose you? We lost Rick for a minute there. He's back.
did I drop out?
You did.
I was actually going to my email to invite Glenn and Chantel, and didn't know I had to be real time. But do they send them here as a punishment, or do they send them here because of our education?
They send them here because of our education. They've already done what we're doing now in younger grades. So when they go back, they'll be on the top of the class here in the US. So when they go back home and finish school, like high school, they'll be
Hmm.
on the top levels of their class there because they've already.
Oh, that's what you're saying. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Something about a foreign experience and credentials.
All it matters is being top of your game, top of your class.
Yeah. And so education is a big deal, and and
Everywhere but the US.
and what's interesting is that we took our focus off education and career planning and development. And I don't know where it shifted to, but we have a generation of kids that I'm not sure if they even know what they'll be doing in the next 5 years or so, because we're not preparing. What are we preparing them for?
You're preparing them for the standardized testing.
We're
And
what?
so
Hmm.
what what that means for people who don't have kids in school is the government has figured out this is where you should be for reading, writing, and math for your age category, and you need to hit that mark. And that mark tells you your teachers are good. So they no longer teach history or they teach things, they teach to this test.
What are we preparing them for when they graduate? As a larger percentage, of course, if you got kids to go to college, my kids are highly successful. One's a major in the military, in the Air Force. The other works for another major defense contractor. They both are college grads and beyond. But they're different because they have a dad who and mom who drives them. But for the majority of the population that may not have that benefit of someone that has been there and is guiding them. You know, these kids, you know, what's their future? What's their goals? You know, what jobs are they preparing for? You know, what hope do they have? You know, and I haven't been in. Of course, my kids are older, so I'm not in the education system now, and you know, going to middle schools and different levels of schooling. But just in general, just thinking about it, vocational school used to be a big deal
Yeah.
when I was growing up, and we had the people who were in high school, regular high school, and then we had the people that went to vocational high school, VOC, and both had pretty good standings. And the people that went to VOC went there to learn a trade, a skill, to go right in immediately into the workforce. You know, those who went to college, prepared for college, went to college to play around for 4 years, 2 to 4 years, you know, and then there was a kind of a shift in society where, for a while there, the people that were in Vogue, that went to Vogue, had jobs and made money and were secure, and the people that went to college, you know, they were out of date with everything, the times and everything, the studies, they were behind.
Well, and that's the scary part with how everything's changing so quickly. Like AI is different every day. If you're not on top of it, like I got my degree when I was in the military in business management, financing, and accounting, and my primary goal was marketing. Everything I learned and while I was in the military and college, because it was when they first did school online, is really irrelevant to now, other than
Right,
how to create a business plan, how to, basic understanding of the psychological of people, but how to market is completely different. Back then, it was the internet was used as a research tool, not to actually market yourself. They had no classes on social media. That didn't exist yet.
right, right. And so when you're looking at travel, now you look at it from a different perspective because it is an actual career opportunity
And,
in hospitality and tourism.
you know, the one of the fastest growing fields in travel is nursing.
Traveling nurse,
Yep.
yeah.
My husband's boss, his daughter, she'll be a senior next year. She's already signed up to go to Rochester and get her RN certifications, and she's already applied at the Mayo Hospital to do her internship, and her goal is to be a traveling nurse.
There's a lot of money in that, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of money being a traveling nurse, and just in general, though, a career opportunity in hospitality and tourism, avoiding thousands of dollars in tuition debt, 2 to 4 years time, and to join an industry that has no limits in the travel industry under the umbrella of Surge 365. You have an actual travel agency, and as a travel agency, of course, you have access, host travel agency, you have access to all the suppliers, all the vendors, all the training is online, that you can take a look and say, okay, this is my passion, and these are the areas I want to focus on. Like we talk neurodivergent travel, we talk Disney. I want to focus on cruises. You can create your own niche there of wherever you want. And under the umbrella of Search 365 for $500. for less than the cost of a cell phone. And you compare that to a degree, which fills a square. And of course, once you graduate, you get out in the workforce and you find out there's people out there looking for a job that have your degree and experience that are still looking. So stand in line. It's almost like anymore, you need to know someone to get a job that will give you a chance to let you in. You know, so but a person for less than the cost of the cell phone can say, hey, you know what? I want to focus on travel and whatever career field. Even using travel and the access to the industry as a tool. You know, I want to do wedding destination weddings. I'm a photographer. So I've got access to the cruise lines, to all the different resorts. I've got access to all of it. I've got access to special needs travel. You know, I can put together conventions and different trips and, you know, as a, whatever your niche is. And being able to use Surge 365 that way to support whatever you're doing. If you're a traveling nurse, you know, to be able to stay at the hotels, that comes out of their pocket. To be able to travel, get your flights, get your everything through your site. If you need to rent a car, rent it through your site. We're going to Vegas tomorrow for Brenda's birthday, and we're staying at the Cosmopolitan. I booked the Cosmopolitan through the members program, saved $246 over the lowest internet price. And I went, wow. Every time I see the savings like that, I just go, wow. But a person can say, okay, this is freedom. You know, we live in Charleston and we're here in Page, Arizona. And being in the travel business, the mobility to leave Charleston and to come here for a month or so, and I bring my job with me. People are looking for that. People are looking for that. But interestingly enough, it's undercover. It's under the radar. And a person has to be in a perfect exact position for it to become visible to them. And thank goodness, way back when I got in this industry in 2004, you know, I took a step of faith and I realized, oh my gosh, this is my exit. This is an exit strategy, you know, from a job. And but so for our kids today, you know, I think more and more the adults in the room have to come up with some creative ways to guide and direct them. Otherwise, you know, I've got friends who played around in their 20s, early 20s, and are stuck now. You know, they were into just, oh, I don't know what I want to do. You know, they're in the early 20s. You can get away with that. Late teens, early 20s. When you start hitting 25 and 30, and now you want to, you know, straighten up your act, it's tough.
Also, like in the military, when you've been in for so many years and trying to enter that workforce, really hard to do.
It's hard. Why is it hard?
Um, One of the big things is a lot of people don't look at your military career or your military experience as an actual job. That you have no real world work experience because you're not going to a 9 to 5 job every day. And
I,
then I've been told that one quite a few times, which is why I stopped looking for a real job. And another part is sometimes with what you end up doing in the military doesn't always transfer into a civilian workforce job,
I was
such as a
looking at
tank operator, for instance.
Well, I was looking at an app now, probably a couple of years ago, that translated military career fields in their civilian equivalent and the responsibilities into the civilian equivalent, where you could put in there grunt and it would spit out all the things that a grunt did, a warfighter did, and the application in civilian world, whether it be planning, strategic planning, whether it be timeliness, whether it be all the different values and all the different things that come along with being a soldier, and it translated it into a civilian jargon words where a civilian could actually understand it, and that's necessary because otherwise tank operator. But when you think about the modern day tanks and the ability to actually operate those tanks,
It's
wow,
like playing a video game
it's like playing a video game.
or flying a
I,
jet. I mean, it's insane, all the buttons and gears. I'm thankful, 1, I'm a girl, and 2, I'm claustrophobic because there's no way.
Tank or jet?
Either or.
I know.
Way too many shiny buttons.
Yeah, you either are there or you're not. And my situation in the military was a little bit different, being an officer and being in a technical field, because one of the things about us is that we were working with the civilians that hire you, and we would just change uniforms and show back up, the next day with calendars and mugs. Hey, here's a calendar. Here's a mug. Here's a pin. You know, and so, but it was a little bit easier because we were working with defense contractors that typically would hire you, and we would become part of the old boy system, where those who had retired or got out and were working with the defense contractors in the civilian world, they would know, okay, we need to provide a pathway for our brothers and sisters when they get out and hire them. When I got out of the military, I didn't want to go that route, even though I easily could have, coming from Space Command background. And of course, space is the place. And so, but I could have, but I didn't want to go back into that world again. And so, little did I know, my out would be travel. I just got out. I got out. I worked for, at the time, MCI Telecommunications. From there, L3 Communications, developing satellite scheduling systems, and 80 hours a week. And I let them go in 2005, February 2005, and I went full-time community, serving in the community. And I had a travel business, but I didn't know that you could make money at it. And all of a sudden, you know what? All of a sudden, everybody wanted one. You're talking 2006. Everyone wanted a home-based travel business, and it went through the roof. It went through the roof, and I made a lot of money at it and created residual income. And Mary, it sustained me to work in the community and to serve in the community. And the travel business created the wealth that freed me up to do that. And it continues to flow from 2005, 6 to this day.
Well, not only did it sustain you, but didn't it help you build the communities as well and help support the communities during disasters?
It helped me sustain the community and build a community. And the decisions that a person makes is not just for the immediate. It's for your future. It's for others around you. You figure that decision allowed me even fast forward to 2025 to say, okay, I'm going to leave Charleston to come to Page, Arizona, to help my brother launch his restaurant. That decision from 2005, it continued on through 2008 when the economy did a little thing there, to COVID, took us through COVID. People don't realize the decisions you make today could potentially affect your future tomorrow. It could affect your future.
Another demographic that fits good into this category are the ones that stay at home moms. They have the career or they decide to quit to stay home with the kids. And so they have this big gap in their resume when they decide to go back to work when the kids get older. This is something for them to do to help them get a little extra income, but to help give them something to do besides your kids all day long.
Why did I come into travel business? I really did not like the control others had over my life. And they let me know it. Begging for time off, which I knew I couldn't get because, hey, satellite systems, they know no breaks. But, 80 hours a week. But the control, and I'm like, you know what? If I could just get out from under this control that people have on my life, it just annoys me. And you can't get out from under the control until a person makes a major decision. A lot of times people avoid making those kinds of decisions, but except you make a decisive decision, I'm going to do this, it will continue on and not release you. It will continue on and not release you. And how do I know? That's what happened until I finally said, I'm done. The Dolly Parton and, working 9 to 5 show,
Mhm.
take this job and shove it. I'm like, you know what? I am done. I'm through. My boss said, don't you care about your family? I'm like, that's why I'm through. I'm working 80 hours, leave in the morning, the kids are asleep, come back at night, the kids are asleep. And the control was just, it was kind of unbearable. But I did it for 2 years. And so it took me 2 years to actually make a decision, a decisive decision. And but I'm glad that I did. But I know there's people now that are just hanging on, by a thread, and not willing to make that leap of faith. And it's almost like at some point, for things to change, you have to make some major decisions. 2025 will be a repeat of 2024 unless a person makes major decisions to make it different. By default, it will go to 2024 and relive 2023, 2022, and the combination thereof. And until a person says, no, I'm taking charge. And then, of course, life pushes back. You think you're going to take charge, do you? The little voice in your head, huh?
And that's where faith comes into play.
Yeah, you're right.
Fear, you can't let fear hold you back from making the moves you need to do to change your life. And having faith that you're following what needs to be your path of what needs to be done to achieve what you need to achieve.
You're so right. So where does a person get that kind of faith to make those kind of bold moves? That may ask the question.
Your support groups, your inner circles, one, just believing in yourself, which is hard to do when you're struggling. But, when you follow your gut, your
Following
little
the
inner voice, and you follow that wholeheartedly, not just half-ass it.
right.
You know, taking that first step is always the scariest step.
Took me a year to do that. What I described to you now took a year to actually do. An entire year. And because they were paying me well, but they were getting every drop out of me. But it took me an entire year to say no mas.
One way to help overcome that is, reframing what you're saying in your head. You're always asking yourself, what happens if it fails? What happens if it fails? Okay, now reframe that. You know, what happens if I don't do it? You're going
Ooh.
to end up in that same cycle. You're on that same hamster wheel. Rephrasing things to, when did I decide to make that a fear? Asking yourself why it's a fear for me helps you overcome that fear. And you realize, you know, a lot of people will tell you that it's the fear of failure that stops you, but in reality, it's not, because you already have it in your mind, a backup plan, which is why you haven't taken that step forward. It's that fear of succeeding that you don't realize that's what your fear is to keep you going. Because if you had that fear if you didn't fear failure, you wouldn't have had a backup plan. You would have jumped in.
That was interesting because to start anything new, there's a fear.
hmm The unknown is always scary. It
The
is
unknown is always scary.
our primitive mind. It's actually part of the Neanderthal part of our self-preservation that's built into us genetically that hasn't evolved yet. It's like watching the movie Crudes, leaving the cave, you're gonna die. Anything new is bad, you're gonna die. It's the same concept, and that's how our brains work. And that's where, try it little by little. What's unfamiliar becomes familiar. Once it becomes familiar, it's not scary.
People typically will not leave their comfort zone until the comfort zone, becomes unbearable
Yep.
as a natural course.
Yep.
People will stay in the level in their environment of comfortability because it's comfortable. And to get out of it and to move out of it requires, going into that unknown, doing something different, exploring. One of the things I love, and that's, I think, with the military we got, and I don't know if it's just us in the military, but that sense of exploration. When you go to a new job, you're meeting new people, you're getting into a whole nother, environment, whole nother job situation, learning new things, adjusting to life in that place. Where's the commissary? Where's the this, that, and the other? What do I do to have fun? What is my regular day going to look like? I have some ability to influence it some way or another. But that's a practice that we have in the military when you go from one assignment to the next, right? Have to meet a whole new set of people. What's nice is that everybody's doing it. So, everybody kind of understands. That's what it was like coming here to help my brother with his restaurant. We're used to coming into a new situation and carving a place for us.
The only difference is that in the military we tend to go to a job or something we know. You went into the restaurant business with no experience.
None, and no experience, nothing. But the attitude to do something different, to do and to go into an environment It's like going on a mission to do something in the military, and you do some initial planning, but you don't know until you actually get into that place in that situation what's the real world, that you have to make real-time adjustments, you know. But the courage to put yourself in that place, it becomes a practice that, yes, it's like the things that you do to launch your different initiatives. You don't hey, let's go. Right?
Yeah,
You're like, it's go time, push the button.
that's it. But
That a lot of people have a tough time at that.
they do. You know, and that's where I struggled at first. Was when I first started doing what I was doing. I followed the marketers. I followed the people telling you, how you had to sit right, look right, talk right, and read these scripts. That's where I failed. When I just said screw it and just talk, that's when I had the success.
Wow, that's
And
good.
that's one of the biggest misconceptions about the military is they think we are just little drones that are we get a mission, we memorize it, we do it. No. We get an agenda and an outline. How you achieve that ending depends on what's going on in the environment.
Right.
You got to move these rocks from A to B. Great. Now how are you going to do it? Figure it out.
That was pretty fun. I used to do we used to do Project X, where we would go through as a team, and they would have these different obstacles that we'd have to work together as a team to accomplish. And they would put us under a time period. You have 10 minutes to do this, and but you had to do an exercise teamwork to make it happen. Right? And then you had to figure out how to get all this stuff over this 9-foot wall to the other side, or something. Just crazy, crazy, crazy exercises. But
When
you
when
had, huh?
when they tell you that your belt loops actually support your weight, they do 100%. I can tell you that for a fact.
It's a privilege to go through the military, huh?
It is. I wouldn't be who I am today without it.
Myself either. Yeah,
And
it's a privilege.
those courses, I actually recreate them in my backyard for my kids. Like we literally have two platforms that kind of reminds you of the tower in Army boot camp with a cargo net attached that they with that they climb on to get them to one work together, but two just getting them physical activity that's different.
Right, right, right. But it takes that kind of courage to move forward in business, to move forward in life. There are people that are stagnant in life and stuck, that aren't willing to take that leap of faith to do something, and time continues to pass. And they're getting older, they're getting more set in their ways. And whenever you allow fear any room, it makes a home, and it takes even more to overcome it. Every time you appease it, it takes more. And but to build that momentum, and so here we come with an opportunity, to break the mold, to break out, to break loose, to bust loose, and they're ready to do it. And then the little small voice, still small voice says, you can't do that, right? Who do you think you are to do something other than what I tell you to do? And that's beyond your abilities. And if they listen to it, they continue the pattern.
And there's always a loophole. It's like when we first started talking. And I was telling you about what I do and stuff, and you're like, you can't save the world, right? I'm like, maybe. Then I called you at 7 o'clock in the morning, my time. Like, I got it. I figured it out. I can save the world. From talk radio to coaching coaches and professionals to do what I do, I can save that many more people.
It's
There
true.
is a loophole.
It's true. If the world will listen,
But when it's your time, they will listen. I've been doing this for professionally 7 years,
that's awesome.
non-professionally for 8 years. The US is finally now looking at different ways and trying to understand neurodiversity and autism in a different light.
Hmm.
And the government may not be wanting to, but the parents and the families are now looking at it differently. We're speaking out for the first time ever. So when it's your time, it's your time. You just got to be patient and follow your path.
One of the things that's really interesting is I was thinking about what you were saying before, especially with the advent of AI, the whole concept of social engineering is even easier.
Hmm.
Like you were saying in South Africa. And if I want to get not just South Africa, but if I want to get a response, I can initiate the stimuli that
Correct.
gives me the response that I'm looking for. In the past, of course, now with AI, it makes it even easier. What stimuli do I need to initiate to get this response from a social engineering perspective to make the people believe da 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 and accept da 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 da? That's an easy thing now, and it was
Yeah.
before too, because AI has been around for a while. But that's an easy fix. That's an easy thing to do as you engineer a society to do and to believe and to think and to act the way you want it to.
Well, and it's even this, and you look at it too with AI, you can reword your posts to hit target markets to really resonate with particular areas that,
You can.
like where you normally wouldn't be able to look in the understand how to say something a certain way for an older crowd to understand what you're saying. Now it can be easily rewritten. The same thing you wrote can be rewritten 5 different times for particular audiences.
5 different audiences. I need this for a seventh grader, third grader. Write this for a grandparent.
Or for people like us that don't always understand some of the things that civilians say, rewrite it in military jargon so I understand it.
I know when you did that for that one thing, I just went, wow. What were we talking about? Some kind of something to.
It was a website, and we just couldn't grasp the concept of the website because it was written in such big jargon.
And you
It
said,
didn't
write
make
this like
sense.
a military mission. It was like, boom! Oh my gosh!
Now it made sense. Now you feel dumb because you didn't quite grasp it.
The clarity when they wrote that as a military mission, the clarity was just it was kind of scary. It really was kind of scary. One of the things I've got a meeting today after this one, and we're talking to this lady in Africa who is over some major investment companies and different things, and they want to do some traveling at the executive level type traveling, and we'll be talking to her, and she's going to be sharing with me or telling me about what they need. And again, walking into the unknown, I don't know. I know that they do a lot of executive travel. They have different events in Africa and around the world, and expos and different things. And so she wants to know if Surge can handle that. And what's interesting is that Surge can. Surge can handle if a person says, I just want to travel myself, travel wholesale instead of retail, get some great tax benefits, and get paid to go. There's nothing that says you have to do this. There's a quota. Nothing. You just use it as you will. All the way up to what this lady is saying: corporate travel, executive level travel. Can you help us with this expo? We've got people. We're in Africa. We got people that'll be flying in from around the world: Europe, U.S., around the world, Asia. And can you help us with these travel arrangements? And the answer is yes. Surge allows a person to carve out their niche wherever it is. Some people may say, I want to do corporate level travel and make those corporate level arrangements. This guy needs a corporate jet. This person needs a corporate jet to fly from here to there. I can set up the corporate jet. This person is doing a convention, and I can set up, work with the venue and block so many rooms. I can help them with the flights of people coming in, rental cars. People can self book through my Vortex. We do it all. We may have a person who is at the executive level and says, I want my own ability to book and to travel. When we have the members program with the concierge service, where I just saved $246 at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas. That I mean, I just want to save money. I don't want to do anything else. Whatever a person needs. And so when I was talking to this lady, and I got another meeting with her after this meeting, I'm like, you know what? We can do anything. But you know what, Mary? It was so funny because I choose to use Surge to have fun and
Mm-hmm.
to travel and not work.
Well, that and a surge, it can turn on a dime. By that I mean, okay, your flight gets delayed. What do you do? You're stuck in a city, somewhere you don't know anything about. Go to surge. What is there to do? You have 5-hour layover. Go find something to do.
Activities.
You got activities. You've got discounts to different things in that area. Oh, snowstorm hits and you're stuck at the airport because the hotels are full. Pull up your surge. There you go.
It's true. In fact, that happened in Vegas. Oh man, was that before COVID? I think it was before COVID, like 2019. We were down in Vegas and having a great old time. Glenn and Chantel were down there. We had just dropped them off at the airport and packed our bags, and we were driving back home to Colorado. We get about 10, 20 miles out of Vegas, near Mesquite, Nevada. The engines start rumbling. Like, turn the music up louder. And it started getting louder. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I pull over. And I'm not a mechanic. I'm one of those guys that looks under the hood. No, have no idea. Just for show. I have no idea what I'm looking at. But the engine's like tick, 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 tick. So you know what that is, like the piston. And I'm like, okay, get back in the car. The car just decelerates big time. And I hear this boom, no power, pull over into the breakdown lane. I'm always blessed, right? So this tow truck in the same motion that I'm pulling into the breakdown lane is right behind me, pulls into the breakdown lane. I'm like, where did you come from? But anyhow, he's right behind me. So he gets out, I get out. He says, oh, you got a problem here, buddy. And I'm saying, it's amazing. My timing is always perfect. But anyhow, we get the car on his tow truck, drive it, and he said, I got a buddy over at Big Old Tire. And we drive it over to Big Old Tire, and his buddy comes out, looks at it, has one of those looks where he's shaking his head. And I'm looking at it like, oh boy, oh boy. He says, your engine is shot. You need a new engine. And I'm like, oh, jeez. And my tow truck guy says, hey, if you want to sell it to me, I got a yard, I got a farm, and I can just bring it out there. And Brenda's like, no, I want my baby home. We're talking Colorado. I want my baby home. I don't. And so We sit back in the car. They drive off, and I get the tow guy's number, but they drive off, and the shop's about ready to close. The big old tire's about ready to close. And we're sitting in the car trying to decide our next move. And a storm comes up, a sandstorm, while we're sitting in the car, sand and rain out of nowhere. And it turns just dark, and the sand's hitting the car, and the rain. I'm like, oh yeah. And we're sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? Military, right? I gotta do something. Gotta do something. Let me go in and let me see if this guy would give me a ride to a local hotel. And so I go in. The guy said, sure. There's a casino right up the way here, and I'll give you a ride. And so just give me a bit, and I'll wrap up and give you a ride. He's got this little tiny car, so we've got suitcases in his car over his baby seat and all. But he gives us a ride to this casino, and I'm sitting in the lobby of the casino talking about Surge. And I said, well, let me go ahead and book my room online. And I'm sitting in their lobby. Let me go ahead and book my room on there. I found it on my site. Book the room, go to the counter and check in. so I'm sitting in the lobby, and I booked the room. And it was like $26 a night, right? Casino. It's $26 a night. And so I go up to the lobby, the desk, and she says, oh, Mr. Reese, okay, I see that you've already booked. I'm like, yes. Little did she know, I booked in the lobby, in their lobby. We used to drive in long road trips, get tired, and say, hey, there's a hotel right there. Let's go ahead and book our stay. Book, modern technology. Book the stay in the parking lot. Go in. Hey, I see you've already booked. You talk about access. Access. That's what this is. Anyhow, long story short, with the engine, turns out that it was a manufacturer problem. And I called my tow guy the next day, and he took it to a Hyundai dealership in Utah, which was right on the border there, St. George, but Utah, and they fixed the whole thing for free. Gave us a rental car that we drove back to Colorado, and back in Colorado, we got a van, a Jeep. Yeah, I think it was like a latest year Jeep, like 2019 Jeep Cherokee. We had that for maybe 3 months. We had that for like 3 months that we drove it on their dime. And we had to go to a wedding in Florida. We drove it down to Florida. We drove it to see Brenda's folks in North Carolina. And on the way back, they had our car delivered from Utah, towed to the dealership where we rented the Jeep. And the timing was so perfect. When we came back from this wedding, and we had it for like 4 months, they had my car there, and we just swapped. They gave me the keys to the car. They paid for the engine. They paid for the tow. They paid for everything. They gave me reimbursement for different incidentals. And we turned their Jeep in, jump in my car, and drive home. I mean, you talk about the perfect situation. But for renting the hotel, getting the room at the hotel, we are like out in the lobby. It's the most amazing thing. And so, but that's how I chose to use it, my Surge 365 business, for my travel, for discounts on cruises, discounts on resorts and hotels, discounts on cars. Flights are competitive, so wherever I find the flight, it's all good. I'll book it. I'm writing everything off. You have to talk to your tax professional, I always have to say, but the write-offs that lower my taxable income, it's a great tool. And now with this whole Botswana, Africa thing here, they're like, can you do this? Can you do corporate travel? Can you help us with this expo? Never say no, because we've got some sharp folks. And of course, Ron is awesome. Ron is like, Rick, I'll help you. Isn't that amazing? Oh man, we have a great support group.
Ron and Linda, on Roll to Speedy Recovery are the only people I know that can be on their deathbeds and still booking travel.
He said, yeah, we got a couple of cruises booked. We got some people looking for some extra income in the hospital.
After he had a stroke.
After he had a mini stroke. Same thing with Linda in the hospital. And but you know what? What's in your heart comes out, right?
So
Within your,
literally their hospital stay is now paid for.
I know, right? But to have the ability to do that,
Yeah.
you can't convince people of that. They just got to know. They just got to know. As much as we tell people about our experiences, you know, about the things that we do, like in the whole opening, the unforgettable destinations, the insider tips. We tell people about that. Wherever you go, you're making the adjustment to say, I can use it for this, I can use it for that. As a military person, we're always looking for tools. And I think
Hmm.
not just as a military person, but I can use this for this, I can use this for that. Even our little trip down here to Vegas. Let's stay at the Cosmopolitan. And I'm like, oh, wow, what's that going to cost? I look it up. We saved $246
Without using your military discounts. You
without
forgot about
using
those.
without using my military discounts, which compared to surge are not, they don't even hit the same. They're not in the same breath, because now I'm talking wholesale versus discount. That the $246 is access to a wholesale rate, not a discounted rate. The discounted rate, it doesn't even match the vortex. Where we saved $246 with the membership, the vortex would probably save $120, but it's a free link. So if I had to give my vortex to someone staying at the Cosmopolitan for the same, they would have saved over $100, and I would have made the savings. They would have been happy because they saved with this complimentary link. I would have made whatever they saved 100%. I would have made 100 some odd dollars. Man, that's awesome, huh? Oh yeah, yeah. But you can't explain that to people. They either are there looking for an opportunity, the vision to do something different, to save money, to make money. You know, they have to be there. And if they're there, they get it. If they're not, you can't explain it to them. And I don't. I don't even try. I've learned. I actually have learned that if a person is not there, you can save your breath. You can save your breath because people will move on their vision. Ron and Linda, when they came into Surge 365, they come in. Next thing I know, they're over cruising in Europe. It's like, where did you go? How did you know to do that? People in Surge, they wouldn't have known to do that. You're over in Europe. He said, Rick, we had the vision to be overseas and cruising with the Viking River cruise. We already have the magazine. I'm like, I love them. I love them. Cool show as always, Barry.
Hey, you're the other half. You're the better half.
Yeah, you're the
I'm just a
better.
co.
You're the better half. Hey, no, we are a team.
We
Teamwork
are.
makes the dream work.
That's right.
Teamwork makes the dream work. One of the things that we're learning here as we wrap up is that we are bringing and helping them to learn at the restaurant. No one is indispensable. Put processes and people to cover the gaps that you think you have. And people are realizing that nobody is indispensable. We took them out of a panic mode of operation to now they are peaceful, flowing. The food has always been great. The service has always been great. but everything was at such a crazy pace. Now they've slowed down. Isn't that something? They've slowed down and they understand they're taking it in. And we'll probably be here for another couple, 3 weeks. But we're over the hump. Thank goodness. We're over the hump. I've got another meeting I've got to jump off to that begins in 1 minute. But it's been a great show, as always.
And for all those listening, have a safe, happy, and honor Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, yes, yes. Angie Bear, Angel Bear, so good to have you join us. You got to come on, stop by next week also, and listen to the recording. It was a great show. Well, I've got to jump off for this other meeting, Mary, but thanks so much, and we'll see everybody. Thanks for stopping by. God bless everybody.
Bye for now.